Good morning, everyone. This is Brother Lewis coming to you about Agile project management. You may be wondering why project management and accounting all about debits and credits. But as you grow in your career, you'll find that a lot of the work that you do is related to how do I manage projects. And in fact, even while you're in this class, you'll be managing projects together. And so I'd like to provide a useful tool or an approach that you might use to doing that. So I created this for a client a while back and thought I'd reuse it for this purpose. And we'll go through this pretty quickly. We can talk about it more in the future as you have questions about it or would like to actually use it in practice. So Agile is growing in utilization out of software development. It's where it got its roots. In the old days, in the 1990s, when they were trying to implement software or technology solutions, the end result was quite nebulous and quite difficult to pinpoint, and so they never knew exactly how to get there. We had to figure out a way of doing it. But here recently, Stephen Forbes provided a little comment that says that Agile is the best kept management secret on the planet. This was back in 2012. And here recently we find all sorts of companies starting to implement some form of Agile, mainly on IT type projects still, but it's more pervasive than that. And so it's getting into other issues like manufacturing, it's getting into issues like, or industries like education. And so I even used it here just about the last 3.5 years on implementing a procurement strategy with a client in the Middle East. So it's happening also on the services industry as well. So you'll find, I think, this has great applicability into any of the types of projects that you might encounter while an accountant or a business major. So it's complementary to existing project management practices, specifically like the traditional cost and schedule, what is usually called waterfall management processes, where they focus on scope, time, and cost primarily as the things that are drivers to success, and it's all geared around a fixed plan. Where an Agile, the primary driver is value, delivering some form of value that has extrinsic quality. And then intrinsic quality, which is just defined as quality, within some form of constraints, which is exactly like the traditional waterfall approach. And that's all around an iterative and prioritized planning approach. Agile is most suited for complex or complicated environments. So when we look at degrees of certainty we have of the future or existing state of affairs, you can go from close to certain to far from certain. And you can also find that we're either in agreement, very close to agreement, or far from agreement. And so traditionally, when we are close to agreement and close to certain facts about what needs to be done, we're in a rational space. And with that, we can use a traditional or waterfall type of approach. When we're far from agreement and far from certainty, we're usually in chaos. We're really, who knows what's going to happen. And so a traditional or a rational approach doesn't work at all. In fact, you create more problems trying to force fit chaos into rational thinking. And then you have all these other areas like complicated and complex, which are some variation of certainty and agreement. Well, Agile works quite well in this complex as well as complicated environment. I'm not so sure if anything can really work in chaos except for just to go with the flow. But Agile works in this middle ground where we have varying degrees of certainty and agreement on what needs to be done. Agile has 4 core values, therefore, in order to navigate those uncertainties. The first one is these values rank between having high priority and low priority. It's not that one is greater than the other. It's just that if you had a choice, you would choose the higher priority over the other. And so, for example, individuals and interactions are a higher priority over processes and tools. And while processes and tools are very helpful in working through issues, email, phones, even text, those tools may be nice and easy, but when it really comes down to working through issues of the day, you have to interact with people, you have to get agreement, you have to nail down some form of certainty of what's going on. The second core issue is working solutions over comprehensive documentation. There is a nagging interest to somehow document or plan everything that you're going to do and then go do it. Well, Agile has more an approach of let's just get it to work. And if it works now, then we can then make some enhancements later and get it to work even better. And so you'll find, in fact, a lot of your software that you see these days have many iterations, right? They get out a working solution. My understanding is that Pokemon, for example, doesn't work very well, but everybody loves it because it works, sort of. I'm sure there'll be future iterations of Pokemon Go that will be working much, much better in the future. But right now, it's where it is. The third one is collaboration over negotiation. When you're in a chaotic environment, negotiating who does what, when, and how sometimes is very difficult, and sometimes it changes very rapidly. And so what we want to do is more collaboration. I know this isn't exactly what I'm supposed to do, but in order to get this to work the way it needs to, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to collaborate on a solution that works. And then lastly, we have responding to change or following a plan. So in Agile, because it's so complex and there's little certainty or agreement, we have to respond to change as it happens, because plans are great at first, but they usually fail within a couple of days. So you have to be willing to adapt. There's 12 core principles. I won't go through each of these, but you'll see that I've tied each of these 12 principles to the 4 core values up above by their color. You can go back and look at these if you'd like at some point. But I'd like to key on a couple that have always been challenges for me, like keeping it simple. Always want to make it very difficult. But keeping it simple is usually the better route. I also have, let's see, producing value early. It does no good to somebody 2 years from now to get whatever working product you are designing. It works much better if they can see it working today, or maybe not today, maybe a couple weeks from now, and see just a rough order of magnitude working solution. And so once you deliver that, they have more trust and more faith in what's going to happen in the long run. And so we'd like to produce value a little bit early and at a sustainable pace. So those are some 12 core principles. Give them a view and think about how you might be able to add that to what you're currently doing. It's prioritized solution. So what happens is that when we look at a project, we first identify all the different features that could make up this project. What are the things that need to be done? And then we rank them. We prioritize them. We then break it down into things that we can do either this month or maybe even this week, but primarily in a sprint backlog for the month. We take that sprint backlog for the month and we break it down to weekly tasks that we can do. We then start to iterate on a weekly basis, and we come together as a team to figure out, well, what have we done, what are we going to do, and where are we having problems. We do that either on a daily basis or alternated days, and we just keep on iterating day by day, week by week, until we get some working solutions out that can be checked and verified. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. And when they're not, or we need to change the specifications, and we go back and start from the beginning, add it to the project backlog, prioritize it, work through it on a monthly basis, break it down into weekly tasks that can be done, iterate, create more working solutions. So this is the process that we go through. Usually we can use some high visual interactive tools like a Kanban board, where you have where we're at, what do we have to do, what are we working on, so in progress. We have a checking component, and then it's complete. Did that for one project. Then I also created a little software tool that allows me to do the same thing. I won't bore you with all this information, but you can, it's basically kind of a I don't know, just an electronic interface to get you to work through your project. And then we have some reporting and monitoring. We use a sprint progress tracker to see all the number of things that we started out with and how many we've completed in the whole week. It's okay not to complete everything. We found that if you get at least 75 to 80% of the work done that you had scheduled for the week, you're making good progress on a regular basis, and so you will hit your objectives over that period of time. And that's it. So I hope this was a nice introduction into Agile. Look forward to talking to you about it more and helping you practice it while you work through some of the projects on this course.